Is that stack of papers on your counter haunting you? Do you still have that stack of papers from the end of the school year you haven't dealt with? Stay tuned to see how I tackle the paper clutter and keep it under control. Hi, my name is Tammy Bartles, and welcome to my channel, Pursuit Over Perfection, where I encourage women to organize chaos one routine at a time. Today, we're talking paper. It's something that many people struggle with, and if I'm being honest, it's probably the most difficult thing to keep under control in our house as well. So if you're struggling, you're not alone. With it being the summer, you may be having just a little bit less paper coming in and out of the house. As a family of 5 and 3 kids that attend school, the paper is never ending coming in during the school year. There's so many arts and crafts and different projects that they're bringing in, but this may sting a little to hear every piece of paper that your child creates is not a masterpiece. I know, maybe that's not the way I should think, but if we save everything, nothing is special. And that's something that I've started to teach our kids. I want to show you these tips so that maybe you can have a system in place before the new year starts. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that clutter is often just unmade decisions. And unmade decisions is sometimes because we have too much decision fatigue. We overthink things, we overanalyze, and we just don't want to make the decision right then. All too often, those stacks of paper are, oh, I'll deal with it later. I've been guilty before, and I'm still guilty to this day. But having a system in place will help to decrease the number of piles you have laying around. I know that paper organization is talked about by so many people, and if there's anything that I have learned is it is tied to your personality and your preferences. So what may work for one person isn't necessarily going to work for the next. But what I've also learned is that by watching and seeing what others do, I get ideas on how it may work for me. And then from there, you can tweak things. So you may follow Organize 365 or even the Minimal Mom, and they have some really great ideas as far as how they tackle their weekly paper clutter. In a sense, I feel like I have taken kind of both of their ideas and combined them and also done a little bit of tweaks. So first and foremost, the biggest thing that I'm trying to help you is organize that chaos. You have to remember this is something that works for my family, and I would love to hear the things that are working for your family. First step in tackling that paper clutter is throw the trash out. I know, it sounds ridiculously simple, but it's something that we often just disregard. How many times do you bring in the mail and get advertisements, postcards, things that literally have nothing pertain to your family? Just put it in the trash. That probably will eliminate about half of your clutter that comes in paper form. There may be some things in there that are coupons or a catalog that you want to look through, but you just don't have the time to sit through it right then. Well, this is where the Minimal Moms format of the Time Will Tell bin is something that's really helpful. Maybe you get a coupon for a favorite restaurant or something like that, and you don't know when you're going, but you think, I should probably hold on to this. Well, put it in the Time Will Tell, because who knows? You may forget that you even have it, or you may need to use it, but it'll be there and you know exactly where that Time Will Tell bin is. Next step is if there's a piece of paper that comes in the mail that is something needs to be taken action, such as a bill or an appointment that needs to be made. My personal preference is to put it with your planner. Now, I know that's almost stepping ahead because maybe you don't have a planner. Well, stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a video very soon about how I'm using my planner to organize my life and plan for future events. I am one that is adamant about clearing off your counters before you go to bed. And so if it's something that will take you less than 2 minutes, pay that bill online right then. You have your phone right next to you, more than likely, so either pay it or put it with that planner so that when you sit down with your planner, you can do the things that need to be done. Now, if it's something for an upcoming event, again, it goes into my planner so that I can plan it with the rest of the family activities, and or I will put it, if it's a kids event, I will put it up on the fridge so that it's a reminder even for the kids as well. Next step, sometimes it's just a piece of paper that needs to be kept for reference, and I have a file that's ready for both my husband, myself, and even to go ahead and have your tax file ready. So we still have our file in here for the 2021 taxes, and so I'm going to be transferring that out and putting a file in for the 2022. But this has been really great because as the year progresses and maybe you do a donation or something that along those lines, if it's something that will be used when it comes to tax return time, it's all right there and you don't have to go digging around looking for it. As the new year hits and you start getting more tax forms, then they all go right there. And so it's just something that you can easily keep track of and your tax papers have a home. So we've talked about 4 different types of paper clutter so far. Trash, already in the trash bin. Time will tell, coupons and things that you may want in the time will tell bin. Bills need to be addressed, taken action on, put with your calendar so that you know that they need to be taken care of. And 4th is reference items. So those can be put in a file to be referenced in the future when necessary. The 5th item in paper clutter is often the most tricky. And to me, that is kids' papers. This is a tricky one. Your kids may be young or they may be older, but the difference is that every piece of art that they make or every piece of paper they bring home is not a masterpiece. That may be hard for some of you to hear, but it's the truth. If we think that we want to keep everything, nothing is special anymore. I love to get my kids involved. This is where they get some empowerment, they get to decide on what is actually special to them, and it allows them to not feel like you are just throwing things away without them knowing, but it also is teaching them that there is a container and there's only so much space. While in the beginning, they're going to say that every single thing is important. And it's difficult, but if you explain to them that there is a certain amount of space, and if you show them once this space is filled up, we're going to have to make room for new items. And so you only have this much space, then that gives them some boundaries, which if you need some more information on boundaries, go check out my previous video from last week. But it gives them a boundary in order to know what can and can't be saved. I'm willing to bet that if you are married and or have moved out of your parents' house, they may have given you some bins with some childhood memories in it to take with you. I'm also willing to bet that if you had more than 2 bins, probably quite a bit of it to you was junk by the time that you're in your 20s and you're looking at things that you made when you were 4 and 5 years old. Maybe it's just me. It's important to understand that, again, if everything is saved, then nothing is actually special. My goal is to make that simple so that when they move out of the house, they have great memories to take with them, but they'll be special memories. So currently we have 2 bins. One that is like memory items, mostly it's baby type stuff, and then there's also one of a paper bin. You can see here that we have each of the years, so even like baby and then preschool and then kindergarten through 12th grade, and I'm sure as the years progress there won't be as many papers, but it's just something for them to be able to save and see when it was created instead of it just being a giant stack. Now, I'm not saying that my kids will leave with one memory bin, but it is something that is a goal of mine to have less for them to be able to take. For the pure fact that from the age of 18 to when I turned 25, I moved 9 times. That's a lot of times to be moving. Granted, I didn't start taking my childhood memories back and forth with me until about move number 5 or 6, but still, that meant my childhood memories have moved around 4 times just in probably a 4-year period. Not to mention, they've moved 2 more times since we've had a family. And while we don't know what the future holds, I just want to know that in the future, my kids aren't burdened with a lot of stuff, because in the grand scheme of things, stuff is not what it is all about. The memories that you make and the time you're spending with someone is what's going to matter in the end. The cool thing about empowering your children to ask them those questions of, do you want to keep this? Do you love this artwork? Do you love this piece of paper? It makes them really think about what is actually important. And I can tell you that since we've been doing this kind of questioning at the end of the day of school, and even during the summer when they're drawing all of these pictures, I can see in my son's file from kindergarten to first grade, he found some of the papers not to be near as special or important for him, that they weren't necessary in keeping. I'm not saying that I'm not going to keep some of those fun memory pieces of him answering questions about himself and his family, but it's just something that you can really pick and choose to minimize the number of papers that are being kept. Another opportunity that you have is when you're putting in this year's papers from the previous year, you could look at even last year's papers and kind of let them see through what they thought was so special, see if they remember what it was. Sometimes kids have amazing memories, and then other times they're like, what is this? And I think that that's okay, that maybe it was special right at that moment, but if they don't feel that it's important anymore, then let it be passed on, because if it's not important to them right now when it's only been 1 year, do you think that it's going to be important to them 18 years from now? Highly unlikely. This may seem overly simple, and in all reality, that is what organization is. It's simple, but it has to be done consistently, and it's not something that can just be pushed off to the side, because when that decision fatigue comes in, honestly, we know more often than not end up blowing up the thing that we've been putting off into this huge project. And it just feels so overwhelming that to even get started, it's so difficult. I've talked about before that a train in motion stays in motion. So if you can just be consistent, and even if it's going at a slow pace, that is so much better than being at a complete screeching halt, because it takes way more energy to actually build up enough motivation in order to actually get that starting. The first step is always the most difficult, and I will say that till I'm blue in the face. These systems are meant to make your life simpler, and it's something that you have to figure out. Will this system work for you and your family? Is this something that you could put into place? Do you need help putting this into place? This is where you can reach out to me, and I am happy to help set these things up for you. And I'm happy to walk you through and figure out, well, your system doesn't work for me, but maybe if we tweak it like this, I could make something like this happen. I would love to be able to partner with you and really chat and figure out how to make your life a little bit more organized and clear that clutter for good, so that you can have control of it and not be overwhelmed. Clearing the clutter requires discipline, and I want to help you with that. So I'm curious, do you struggle with your paper clutter? Do you have anything that has worked really well for your family? And most importantly, did you find any tips from this that you find useful? I would love so much for you to subscribe to my channel. Please like this video and share with a friend if you think that they might enjoy hearing some new ideas on how to organize your paper clutter. If you have any questions, please comment down below, and I hope you have a blessed day. No, how does it go?